going on, everyone? It's Dave from Smart Fitness. Now, as you guys know from my recent transformation video, I do have Crohn's disease, and as you guys can probably tell from my previous videos, I struggled with how to properly diet and find supplements that work for me with Crohn's disease. Furthermore, after showing and showcasing, I guess you could call it, my transformation on how I went from a 95-pound 18-year-old to what you see before you, I went on a couple Crohn's disease forums as well as on Reddit, where there's subreddits on Crohn's disease and IBD, to where I found quite a few people with a lot of misinformation on how to actually deal with muscle loss, muscle wasting, weight loss, weight gain issues, as well as how to actually eat. A lot of the misinformation stems around what they hear from supplement stores, where the people don't actually have a strong understanding of what to do in those situations. Now, I'm not saying I'm a medical practitioner of any means, so obviously consult your GI or your family doctor or whoever it is that you deal with. But in my experience, I've come across 5 supplements that are probably the best at helping maintain, grow, and support you through your entire IBD process, as well as the supplements that I think are a complete and total waste of money. So this list is essentially 5 supplements for or against IBD and IBS patients. These supplements are protein powder, BCAAs or EAAs, fish oils, mass gainers, or caloric dense powdered shakes, and then just a multivitamin, and then finally just your overall diet. I want to touch on that and the importance of it. So let's just dive right in. Luke, if you want to just zoom right in there real quick to see what we're going to be talking about. So starting with protein powders, I detail 5 different types. We've got whey, soy, almond, eggs, and rice. Now, in my experience, I've seen quite a few people talk about the benefits of soy protein and soy meats, and they kind of like push that like vegetarian, vegan agenda. I mean, I guess it's all fine and dandy, but for somebody with IBD, I know myself personally, just about anything in an abundance of soy causes my stomach to bloat, and I get exceptionally gassy from it. So from my perspective, I would say stay away from soy, let alone the fact that there's certain flavonoids in it that don't exactly work that well for people that are males, like the estroflavonoids. It's kind of been, there hasn't been definitive studies saying that soy can actually increase your estrogen levels, but there has been a linked cause-causation type of link. But it doesn't necessarily mean causation is correlated with it. And then I talk about almond and egg-based protein. I haven't tried an egg-based protein, but from my understanding, it's the most hypoallergenic, but it's also the most expensive protein powder on the market, averaging about $55 to $60 for 2.5 pounds. But it's literally just powdered eggs. The bioavailability of it is quite high, meaning that your body will actually absorb it at a higher rate than it will with whey, soy, almond, and rice. So in that respect, I guess you kind of pay for what you get, and it works out quite well. Breaking down a little bit further with almond protein and rice protein, I've tried both of these. Both of them were recommended to me by a naturopath that I was seeing during my sicker phases, and in my honest opinion, they both tasted like crap. They're exceptionally expensive. It was about, I think it was $40 for 1 pound. I didn't even finish either of the bottles because of how disgusting it was. Even with them being masked as chocolate milk flavored, it was so chalky and so disgusting, let alone the fact that the scoop for gram ratio of protein was about 1 scoop for 11 grams of protein. So it's not even a good bang for your buck. So in my opinion, I'd say kind of stay away from those. And then there's whey protein. Now, a lot of people I saw in these forums saying that whey protein makes them gassy or bloated or just completely uncomfortable. And that's where I just kind of want to say, that's not necessarily true. A lot of it has to do with the way that the protein's created. If it's low-heat pasteurized dairy, chances are it's going to be a higher quality whey protein in the final product. If it's got a lot of additives in it, like xanthan gum or just like guar gum and stuff like that, where it's just a useless filler, then yes, I can see that bothering you. And that's typically what you would find at your local pharmacy or Walmart type of thing. But if you actually go and buy a fairly sourced whey protein, I use Canadian protein. Their unflavored protein is literally just whey concentrate, whey isolate, or a whey blend, and that's it. So I know exactly what I'm getting, and I know the post-production lab analysis. It shows it right on their website. So stuff like that, it goes a long way. You can't get that with those pharmacy type of protein powders, so you don't really know what you're getting. and chances are it's going to bother your stomach whether you're a normal person or not. I know the protein powder that is sponsored by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I tried that. That stuff is absolutely disgusting. My girlfriend's sister, she doesn't even have digestive problems, and that bothered her stomach, let alone Carly's and myself. And I have IBD. Carly has random digestive issues. They're not really diagnosed, but she does have something as well. So that's 2 people right there, or 3 people rather. So it's a pretty small sample, and all 3 of us have the same type of issues. So that goes to say something about the quality. Even though it's being endorsed by somebody who is a reputable figurehead in the fitness industry, it doesn't mean that his product is good. So in my opinion, I would say do your research, but the 2 types that I would use and look at is whey and egg. I don't have it on here, but there's also meat-based protein, like a red meat type of thing, beef-based. It's supposedly more bioavailable, but I found that bothered my stomach as well, so I kind of would say stay away from that. So I'll just kind of stick with whey and egg-based, as it's pretty hypoallergenic. Now a little caveat here. If you're taking a protein powder to gain weight, you're wasting your time. Protein powder should be used to aid in your protein consumption for an adequate, healthy diet. If you're under eating calories in and of itself, taking a protein powder and hoping it's going to help you gain weight is just stupid. It's like trying to shoot fish in a barrel with no fish in the barrel. It just doesn't work. So next we're going to move on to BCAAs and EAAs. And that's kind of the same premise as the protein powder thing with the fish in the barrels. You can take these all you want, but they're not going to equate to muscle gain or weight gain in and of itself, contrary to what a lot of people will tell you at places like GNC, especially if you're an unaware and uninformed consumer. So, in my opinion, BCAAs are actually utterly useless. The 3 amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Most of the research kind of goes around the whole leucine, saying that it stimulates muscle synthesis and muscle growth. But not just with those 3, or having that large quantities of that. It doesn't work that way, especially not in somebody who is natural. And chances are, if you're looking at BCAAs and EAAs to help you gain weight, you are natural, so it's more or less not going to do anything for you. There has been several studies debunking BCAAs actually helping with people losing fat through fasted cardio and maintaining muscle mass because of the claim that it helps with protein synthesis. Now, that's my take on BCAAs. EAAs, I think it's a kind of a different idea. A lot of that comes down to the essential amino acids. So there's 9 essential amino acids that your body consumes and needs to consume. And then from that it can make the other non-essential amino acids. If you're not having an adequate diet, or you're not consuming meat, or you're restricting your diet to certain types of meat, or certain days where you're eating meat, EAAs can be beneficial because it's going to provide you with that complete protein that your body would otherwise be lacking. Next we're going to move to multivitamins. Now in here I wrote kitchen sink or tested. So basically what I'm saying there is, my pharmacist used the term throwing the kitchen sink at you. His rationale for that is taking a multivitamin where it just has literally everything in it. And you're just kind of taking it as kind of like a clouding effect, just covering everything that could possibly be wrong with you. Now, for the average population, this could be beneficial. But if you have some sort of medical problem, where, especially where it's autoimmune, it doesn't make sense to me to just throw the kitchen sink at you. You should be medically tested. You can get your B vitamin spectrum tested. You can get your iron levels tested. All of that can be covered by your healthcare provider, especially in Canada. That's covered under OHIP for most of these tests. So it doesn't make sense to me why you would just take a multivitamin that's just throwing the kitchen sink at you. I take a multivitamin that kind of throws the kitchen sink at you per se, but that's because I know what I'm limited in, and it's cheaper for me to do that. I know that I have low iron levels, but I know that it's also, in many times when I buy my multivitamin, it's cheaper for me to just get a multivitamin than buy a straight iron supplement. As well, I know that my calcium levels are low, but I'll have vitamin D with my calcium. So I know this not from being tested, but just because I know how my body works. If you don't understand how your body works, it's crucial to get it tested. I've had my body tested previously, back when I was super diseased, back when I was in high school, so I had at least a baseline understanding of where I was at. To me, it doesn't make sense to just take a multivitamin that's all-encompassing, especially one where it has zinc and iron in the same point, or in the same pill, because of the simple fact that those two counteract each other. That's just stupid. You're literally taking something that's going to counteract something else in it. My multivitamin does not have that, thankfully. Actually out of coincidence. Next we're going to talk about fish oils. So I saw there was a great debate about omega-3, 6s, and 9s, whether people should be taking fish oils and how they should be taking them. In my opinion, you don't need to take a 6 and a 9. You should only really be taking an omega-3. The Western diet is quite filled with omega-6s, which convert into omega-9s. If your body needs omega-6s and 9s, it will convert from omega-3 to those 6s and 9s. Our diet's typically pretty low in omega-3, so it doesn't make sense to me for why you'd supplement with the other two. It's the same price to just get an omega-3 in and of itself, so in that respect I would say stick to that. Having fatty acids in your diet is beneficial for people, especially with autoimmune diseases, and then the entire population in and of itself. But for somebody with an autoimmune disease, chances are your joints are going to be a little bit more difficult for you to control, and they could be a little bit more painful. I know there's some days where my knees actually just hurt randomly, and I don't know why. I don't have arthritis. I've never had a knee injury. I've never actually done anything. It's just something that's there since I've had Crohn's disease. But when I supplement with a fish oil, I'm not saying that corrects the problems, but it does aid in reducing inflammation, so it helps. And that's from a joint perspective. Imagine what it can do for its regenerative properties for a digestive lining type of issue. I'm not saying it's going to cure you, but it can definitely help. Finally, mass gainers, or high calorie shakes. Quality versus quantity I wrote here. So with mass gainers, typically it's like you're getting a mini shovel and you're scooping that in to a shaker cup and adding some water to it, and it's around like 700 to 1,000 calories. The calories are absolutely crap in terms of ingredients. You're getting a lot of fillers, a lot of cheap protein, a lot of cheap carbohydrates, and definitely cheap fats if they are in there. And if it is quality ingredients, it doesn't make sense to me why you would buy it in powder form when you could just eat it as a whole food. So to me, not only is it cheap ingredients, but it's just going to bother you digestively. Back in my early days, I did try a mass gainer, and I can tell you I gained no weight from it. All I did is go to the bathroom more. All I had was gas and bloating. It was not beneficial whatsoever. Okay. So last but not least on this list, we're going to talk about the overall diet. So in my opinion, I think your overall calories in versus calories out is far more important. So in that respect, if you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, whatever your goal is, you should have at least a general understanding of what TDEE is. So your total daily energy expenditure. So have an understanding of how many calories you're burning roughly at rest, during exercise, while you're eating, that sort of stuff. So the metabolic demands of your body. If you are under eating from that, you are not going to gain weight regardless of taking any of these 5 other supplements, whether you choose to listen to me about mass gainers and multivitamins, BCAAs or not. They're just not going to work if your calories are low. As well, your lifestyle plays a huge role. If you've got a lot of stress in your life, or you're not sleeping, your cortisol levels are going to shoot through the roof. Some people lose weight when their cortisol levels go up. Other people gain weight substantially. You need to keep that in mind. Keep in mind, the hormonal imbalances can play a role based on lifestyle factors. So just be aware that there's more to it than calories in, calories out. But ultimately, in the average population and average IBD population, calories in versus calories out does apply. That's it. That's my take on it, ladies and gentlemen. Stay strong and always stay smart.